Hey there guys, welcome to a new video here. So I'm going to be doing my championship prediction for 2019-20 season. Let's get straight into it. In 24th place we have Barnsley. I don't believe they're quite a good enough squad to fit in this division. As a team, they have a few strong suits, but their team just won't gel together in my eyes. I don't think they quite have enough to show that they are good enough to be in this division yet, and I think they will be back in League One by next season. A team that has definitely been on the radar of relegation throughout the past few years is Reading. Now, they've signed our captain, has been Birmingham City's captain from last season, who we released, Michael Morrison. So that will get them a few extra goals. They possibly might finish slightly higher than 23rd, but I think they'll be 23rd as their team doesn't have enough goals and isn't quality enough at the back to stop the goals from going in. 22nd, I've got Millwall. I'm not making the same mistake I made last year. Last year I put Millwall very near the top of the table, and they were one of my big mistakes. I very overestimated them as a squad. I think that they will be the team that is pushing at the end of the season to try not to be relegated, and as a squad I feel they are better than they were a few weeks back, especially with the loan signing of Connor Mahoney, who we had last season. He's looking quite good for them in the friendlies I've seen, and I think they'll do okay to start, but I think they will fall down and they'll ruin themselves into a relegation battle and go down in 22nd place. In 21st place we have just staying up by the skin of their teeth, Luton Town. I think Luton Town will stay up because mainly as a team, I think they're a strong team together. I think their fan base is quite together with the team. They'll all come together and they'll get those extra points by being at home and having their fans be loud on the opponents and stuff like that. As the stadium isn't quite a lovely stadium for away fans, so it's one of those that they could possibly drown out their away fans and get those extra points which keep them up. In 20th place we have Charlton Athletic. Now I believe Charlton are going to just about stay up, just like Luton. I think they have a good basis of a squad. I think they have a decent basis of management staff and decent fans. They sadly don't have very good ownership for those fans who are dedicated and have been many years trying to get rid of them. They could do with a few extra players in and they could be halfway up the table, but I don't think Charlton quite will do it. In 19th place we have Queen's Park Rangers. Now recently they've made a couple of signings which are quite good. A couple of loan signings they've brought in, and these will have pushed them up my table. Before they had a couple of signings very recently, I put them as a 21st, possible even 22nd, but they've moved up. They've certainly improved upon who they were, and I think they will just about get the staying up in the 19th place, possibly by about 5 points. In 18th place we have Wigan. Now a team that I am shocked at for their transfer dealings recently. I don't think they've brought in the players that they could have. It's a decent sell because as a club they are quite a big, decent sized club. They're known and they could bring in bigger players than they do, but they haven't, so they're still sitting down in 18th place. In 17th we have Preston North End. And with Preston they have quite an okay squad. They have a decent lower mid-table squad like they are in my league table. Last I heard, they will just knock back a bid for Daniel Johnson, which was a good move for them. They've got a couple of decent players. Once again, they're another team who you could quite easily pick to be upper mid-table if they signed one or two higher quality players to build up their squad. But that's 17th place. We have Preston North End. And at 16th place, we have Blackburn Rovers. Now, once again, they're another team that have a fan base that is quite good. They can make some noise when good things are happening for them. And they are a decently managed side. As a squad, they have a range of decent players, like Bradley Dack. He's a star player in this league. They've signed Sam Gallagher on loan, and also Charlie Mulgrew. They have some big scorers there. They'll score some goals this season. It's whether they can keep it tidy at the back that will affect Blackburn more, in my eyes. As a team, they could push slightly higher up this league table, but I think 16th is a nice position for them and something they could grow upon within the next season and sign some players, push themselves up, and possibly even get themselves up into a playoff battle. And that's 16th place, Blackburn Rovers. In 15th place, we have Hull. I feel I'm being possibly slightly generous to a team like Hull, as they aren't really the full big blast team that some of the others are. But they could definitely have improved a lot more than they have. As a team, in their pre-season, they haven't had a very good pre-season. Hull have looked to sign a lot of players, but haven't signed them. And from what I know from them, it's just they haven't shone as much as they could have bringing in players, because they have a decent-sized stadium, have an alright-ish fan base, but are very against the owners and stuff like that. Again, another one of those has been very against the owners recently, and that's their issue, really. So that's why they're in 15th place, Hull City. In 14th place, we have Sheffield Wednesday. Now, Sheffield Wednesday are a difficult one to predict. With Sheffield Wednesday, you have a squad which I would say overachieved before, and they improved upon themselves, and had they been under Steve Bruce at this current moment, I possibly would have put them 2-3 places higher than this. But I think getting rid of Steve Bruce, getting in a caretaker at the moment, having them lead the first match of the season with a caretaker manager will affect them. And first, I think they'll lose too many early to be able to push for a playoff battle, and that's why they'll be stuck mid-table in 14th. In 13th place, we have Birmingham City. Now, as we know, I'm a Birmingham City fan, so this is possibly the team I could say the most about. With Blues, we have had a lot of players linked with signing with us, and if we could have got them all, gosh, we could have put them in first. We've been linked with Gale, we've been linked with Puskas, we've been linked with Mari, we've been linked with Mechia. We've been linked with loads of strikers and midfielders and defenders, and the whole squad we've been linked with players. But we have brought in players. Sunjic we brought in. He's a decent midfielder. He's good at passing. He's good at defending. He's a ball player. He can playmake. He can play that ball from one side to the other. He's a decent, talented player who can definitely bring this team forward from what it was. Also signing Crowley. He, from what I've seen in pre-season and a couple of games I've seen of the Eredivisie, he's looked quite good. He has shown some talent, and he looks like he's 2 or 3 steps ahead of everybody else on the pitch. Also signing Medina recently is another centre midfielder who can possibly bring up the youth. With Charlie Lake in there as well, you've got a decent squad. If you could sign 2 strikers, because it sounds like Isaac Lascelles going out, and sign a defender and possibly a goalkeeper, this is a playoff team in my eyes, but he's still away from that playoff team. So you could put Blues, in my eyes, anywhere between about 17th and 10th, and you could still be 4 or 5 places off, because you just do not know with Blues, and obviously bringing in a permanent caretaker head coach and permanent caretaker assistant head coach is a difficult one. It's a role Blues haven't played with, new formation, loads of different things. Hopefully they can gel, but who knows. In 12th place we have Swansea City. Now, as Swansea are a team I think I predicted to go higher last season. I possibly should have watched that before I did this one, but Swansea underachieved in my eyes last season. They were a better squad than they show, and they possibly should have pushed themselves higher up and possibly into a big playoff spot and gone even up in my eyes with the squad they had. But very recently they have agreed a deal for Ollie McBurney, who I think has very recently joined Sheffield United. Now this will be a big loss for Swansea, and although they supposedly brought in £20 million, I think they would need to spend that £20 million to be any higher than 12th. Their team is not good enough to be a playoff battle without him, and in my eyes, I think Ollie McBurney is their Che Adams, and now they've got rid of their version. It's an issue, and an issue they will have to resolve by signing another couple of players in my eyes. In 11th place we have Stoke. This is possibly a generous position to Stoke, as their squad doesn't really shine. They haven't brought in big players, and with Nathan Jones in charge, who isn't really an overly shown manager, you never know. I'd say Swansea and Stoke were 2 of the hardest teams to predict with Blues, so the past 3 teams are possibly my hardest predictions, as all 3 of them are teams that could finish anywhere in the league table with the squads they have. But I've put Stoke in 11th, as it's just a mid-table battle, possibly slightly upper mid-table, but who knows, they could shine more. In 10th place we have Derby. Now, we know last season Derby had Frank Lampard. They had brought in loads of players. I predicted them to be first. I predicted them to do very, very well. Now, they got themselves up into that playoffs. They got themselves all the way, and they lost. They didn't do what people wanted them to do, and I think they're going to have a huge impact this season in losing Frank Lampard and all those loan players. They don't look like they're going to be up there at the top of the league like I predicted them last season. 10th place, I would say, is a fair choice for Derby County. 10th place, I would accept if I was a Derby fan, because they could come a lot lower down, losing all their loan players, their star players, losing their manager. They need to sign some big players this season to be back in that playoff battle where they were. In ninth place, we have Middlesbrough. Now, obviously, everyone knows the Middlesbrough squad, the strikers, and they've got a decent all-round squad. But I don't think they are quite up there enough to be a playoff team. They haven't signed enough. They haven't brought in enough. They haven't sold their players that they want to get rid of enough. But they're a decent team. They're going to get close, but not quite there. In 8th place, we have West Bromwich Albion. Now, a lot of people will disagree with me on this one and say, oh, look, they should be in the playoffs. Oh, this. I disagree. I think that they will be in 8th. I think they'll be just outside the playoffs, losing Gale, losing Rodriguez, losing a couple of other players, and not bringing in enough star talent and players that have shown in the past and could shine in the future. Losing those kind of players is a big thing to do, and not bringing enough players in will knock them back down the table a little bit, possibly even 8th being generous. In 7th place, we have Brentford. Brentford, they're a difficult team to think about. Brentford are a decent squad with a good fan base who, at home games, they have fans. Like, very commonly, very, very rarely see the place empty. Bringing in Pontus Jansson was a big deal for them. Keeping Neil Maupay is a big deal for them. Having Ollie Watkins and others is good for them. This shows that they are looking to challenge this season. I'm presuming they've told the players playoffs, and they'll be going up to be able to keep players like Maupay from going up into the Premier League. It's a big thing for them. This is a big season for them. I think they'll just be outside that playoffs because they're missing possibly a defender and possibly a midfielder as well. But that is up to them. In 7th place. In 6th place, we have Huddersfield. Huddersfield Town are a new championship side this season. They got relegated from the Premier League. They've kept hold of some of their players. They've got rid of players that they wanted to get rid of. I think they're a good side. And I think this will be the season for 6th place teams, as I think they will be the side to win the playoffs. You guys may have thought you'd worked out my 1st place, but no. In 5th place, we have Leeds. The team that collapses mid to end of the table. At the end of the season, they always drop. It's just a Leeds thing to do. And I don't think they quite have enough. They've got a decent squad, decent management, decent fan base again. They have enough to get into that playoffs. I don't think they have enough for automatics, though. 4th place, we have Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest signed a player the Blues were after very recently. And it was a bit of a bad feeling, a bit sour-faced us Blues fans, because they got players that we can't get, which disappointing, but I personally believe we possibly pulled out of the deal for him. But I think with players such as Ben Osborne, Joe Lolly and Carvalho and him, they've got a decent squad. They haven't oversigned this season like they did last season. I think 4th place is a good place for Forest. I don't think they've got enough to win the playoffs, but they have enough to be there. 3rd place is Cardiff. I think they'll have a big battle on their hands. I think they'll go for it this season. A big side, possibly going back to the Premier League, but I've got them in 3rd. I would have them losing to Huddersfield in a semi-final, but who knows. In 2nd place, we have Bristol City, a squad that has improved, I think, every season for the past 5 years on their position. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they did. Bristol City are a decent all-round squad, decent fan base, good ground, decent management, well-managed all-round team, and I think this year could be the year for Bristol City fans. Who knows? And in 1st place, I have Fulham. They haven't lost their big players. They've brought in a couple of other players. Scott Parker is a decent manager from what I've seen. He looks like he manages the team quite well. My favourite away grounds this season are Huddersfield and Fulham, and I think they both will go up. But I think they probably deserve it because I think Fulham are a decent team. The squad they have probably deserves to be a Premier League side. Doesn't deserve to be sat in the mid-table Championship. But yeah. So that's the end of my predictions. Put your predictions down below, what you think of my predictions down below. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Keep right on to us Blue Nosers. Thanks for all you other fans that watch this video. Put your thoughts down below and let's go, because the season's only a couple of days away now.